Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today I want to talk about Vivek Ramaswamy and one of the largest issues that's going to be that is already in the 2024 U.S. presidential race, and one of the issues that Vivek is dealing with, and some of the changing language around this question. So, really fascinating. Um, let's talk this through. So, recently, a woman by the name of Bethann Hardison did an autobiographical documentary about herself. So, who is Bethann Hardison? So, I was not aware of Bethann Hardison, but I was aware of her son, Kadeem Hardison. He was in a different world, and about a year or two back, he was in a project I really enjoyed. But I've been a fan of his for every time I see him in a film or a project. I really like him. I think he's a very talented actor. I didn't know this. His mother is an absolutely revolutionary person of color in modeling and in fashion. So first she was a model, and she was so good at her job that she really kind of broke the ceiling and did a lot of things that previously only white models had done, right? And then she went on to really transform fashion and accomplish more in fashion than any other POC female ever, according to the documentary, which I think is accurate. But this was an autobiographical documentary called Invisible Beauty by Bethann Hardison. And she said something in it that was quite shocking to me. So she actually has Kadeem Hardison in the film, and at multiple points, and he actually says that he has a very strained relationship with his mother, and that she's never told him that she's proud of him, which I was like, wow. It went further, right? Like, so, and what's wild is Bethann Hardison chose every piece. This was her autobiographical documentary. She chose everything that was in here, right? Like, this wasn't, she had final cut, right? Like, it's very, very fascinating, right? This wasn't something biography being made about her. She made this about herself, which is pretty astounding, and why it points us to this important language, right? So, there is a scene where where the pro-life, pro-choice issue comes up. So Kadeem Hardison at one point gives her a Range Rover, buys her a car, right? And she really likes the car, and she says to him, of all the Roe v. Wade medical procedures I had, I'm glad you are not one of them. Right? Now, she did not say Roe v. Wade procedure. She did not say pro-choice procedure, medical procedure. She used the A word, the ABOR. I think I can't bring myself to say the word. It's too upsetting. It's very upsetting. And that's the issue, right? And what I thought was really astounding is in Bethann Hardison, you have this truth teller, right? And I think what she was trying to communicate was that she was saying, you're here because I chose to put you here. And you have brothers and sisters that they are not standing next to you because I chose to not allow them to stand next to you. That is astounding. When I watched her say these things, this is what my takeaway was, right? And I was like, oh my goodness. And I think that's where we are now. There's deep, deep sacrifices on both sides of the line now, the pro-choice and the pro-life. I think many pro-choice people, there used to be this debate of, is a human life ending here? That debate is over. I don't even think anyone on the pro-choice side is even debating that anymore. They're just saying, it doesn't matter what you think, we have the right to do this. It doesn't matter what you think is happening, we're going to take this action. We get to decide. Right? And I think Bethann Hardison was saying that very clearly, right? Which is helpful because this is a difficult subject to understand, right? And a lot of times people don't speak about it honestly or with transparency. Even I struggle to even use the language that the left uses for it, right? Because it's upsetting to me. It's disturbing to me. That word is highly disturbing to me. So Vivek is in the middle of this, right? And now that we're so far out from this. We are literally, this is the 50th anniversary. By the way, there's, no one's like, yay, 50th anniversary, because this whole topic is incredibly upsetting to everyone who comes even near it. No, there are no champions for it. There are just people who are saying, we're going to keep this privilege that we have, and this is a very, very significantly fought over, very real, knockdown drag out between virtual concept debate. It's a knockdown drag out debate, right, between the right and the left. And actually, in the past, it was even more than just a debate. Thank goodness we've gotten to a more peaceful space with all of this. So it is very fascinating, and I think I am very interested to see where this all lands, right? And one of the things, so I think one of the sacrifices you're seeing on the left now is a dropping of the ruse, right? Like they're no longer contending that something different is happening than what the right thinks is happening. They're saying it. They're saying the quiet part loud, right? And they're saying, yes, granted, we're still going to do this, right? And that, I do actually think that's progress, right? And then the right, no question, right? Anyone who is pro-life right now, you're going to lose votes, period. End of sentence, right? Because, is that right? Or is that what the left tells us? It's definitely what the left tells us. It's definitely what the news says. It's definitely what every poll says. But we have to remember, 2016, every poll was wrong. Every single poll was wrong. And just as he claimed, Donald Trump had a silent majority. And so this could be the same thing. I think the media and the mass news, the mainstream news, definitely wants Americans to believe that the majority of Americans are pro-choice. But then how do you explain 2016, right? That's pretty fascinating. It's pretty fascinating. And I think, but I do think it is extremely challenging for any Republican to actually support pro-life stances. And the reason why is I think the Republicans want to be a non-religious party, right? Hey, we have some Christians, we have some non-Christians. This issue is completely divided by religion. If you don't have religion, you're pro-choice. If you have religion, you're pro-life. Now, there are some people who are like spiritual but not religious, who are pro-choice. Like religion, that counts, right? Like religion, like, oh yeah, I actually read the sacred text and I think it means what it says. Not if you think something different, we can change it, right? Like people who seek truth, right? And so I think Vivek is going to have a very hard time navigating this. Very hard time navigating this. But the reason I wanted to talk about this today is he does need to address the fact that the language is changing, right? Bethann Hardison's statement is shocking, right? Like, because of who she said it to her own son, right? Like, and so there is a change happening here, and very, very interesting. And it sounds, clearly, Bethann Hardison is pro-choice, but I actually think we have a chance at changing things if language is actually used directly, right? With that said, I'm still failing to do it. I cannot bring myself to say that word, right? So clearly, Bethann Hardison has more courage than I do, and that's my point. The language is changing, and the debate is changing. There isn't a debate of, oh, we think two different things are happening. We're getting to the point where it's pretty open knowledge and almost like an open secret that we both think the same thing is happening, and one of us is saying that's abominable and cannot happen, and the other words are like, we're going to do it. You know, and that's fascinating. And Vivek needs to be very careful, in my humble opinion, as he moves forward, to very carefully address this, right? And on a broader topic, I do think, Bethann Hardison, I 100% disagreed with her stance on this, right? But you have to recognize courage when you see it, and sometimes you see it in some shockingly unusual places. Every single word of that is my humble opinion on a very sensitive topic. I hope I've been sensitive and respectful. If I didn't have, if I misspoke at any point, or if you think I missed any points, I'd love to hear your thoughts. And I'd also like there to be a coming together in America, and I would like us to agree on this, and to actually get to a 51% where this is not as divisive as it is. And of course, I'm going to be people come over to the pro-life side. So every single word of that is my humble opinion. What's important is when I get to hear yours. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.